The conflict between United States, Israel, and Iran has now entered its 14th day, and tensions across the Middle East continue to escalate rapidly. Heavy Israeli airstrikes have once again targeted Iran's capital, Tehran, as Iran and its regional allies launch retaliatory attacks across several Gulf countries. The situation has triggered major disruptions to global oil supplies and increased fears of a wider regional war. Strikes and developments inside Iran. In the latest escalation, Israeli forces launched what they described as an extensive wave of airstrikes on Tehran. Thick smoke covered parts of the city following the attacks, with several strategic sites reportedly targeted. Meanwhile, Iran's newly appointed Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, issued his first public statement since assuming leadership after the assassination of his father. Khamenei warned that Iran will continue targeting Israeli and American military assets across the Middle East unless U.S. military bases in the region are shut down. According to Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, at least 1,348 civilians have been killed in the ongoing attacks since the conflict began. The casualties include victims ranging from infants to elderly citizens, highlighting the severe humanitarian impact of the war. Strait of Hormuz crisis and oil shock. One of the most critical developments is the disruption of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway connects the Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and serves as one of the most important oil transit routes in the world. Iran has declared that the strait is under its control and warned that ships linked to the United States or Israel will not be allowed to pass. As a result, global oil markets have been thrown into turmoil. Brent crude oil prices have surged past $100 per barrel, raising fears of a global energy crisis. Retaliatory attacks across Gulf countries. Iran has also launched waves of missile and drone attacks, targeting Gulf countries that host U.S. military bases. In Bahrain, authorities say they have intercepted 114 missiles and 190 drones since the conflict began. In Saudi Arabia, air defenses intercepted 10 drones over the eastern region, while an additional 28 drones were later destroyed after entering the country's airspace. The United Arab Emirates also reported Iranian drone strikes that damaged parts of Dubai International Airport and several hotels in the city. Regional evacuations and emergency measures. As the conflict spreads, several governments have begun evacuating their citizens. Australia has ordered all non-essential officials to leave the UAE and Israel and advised its citizens to evacuate the Middle East while it is still safe. Meanwhile, Qatar has closed its airspace temporarily. However, Qatar Airways has arranged more than 140 special flights to help stranded residents and travelers leave the region. Political pressure inside the United States. Back in the United States, political pressure is also growing over the conflict. President Donald Trump said the war against Iran is moving very rapidly and praised the strength of the U.S. military. However, more than 250 American organizations have signed a letter urging Congress to halt funding for the war. Critics say the conflict has already cost over $11 billion in its first 6 days, diverting resources from domestic priorities. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham suggested the war could continue for some time, but played down the likelihood of American ground troops being deployed to Iran. Israel's strategy and response. Meanwhile, Israel says it is continuing its operations to weaken Iran's military infrastructure. The Israeli military confirmed it struck checkpoints belonging to Iran's Basij force, part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also stated that Israel aims to stop Iran from hiding nuclear and ballistic missile projects underground. Netanyahu added that while Israel can create conditions for regime change, it would ultimately be up to the Iranian people themselves. Escalation in Lebanon and Iraq. The conflict is also spreading into neighboring countries. In Iraq, a U.S. KC-135 refueling aircraft crashed in western Iraq. While a local militia claimed responsibility for shooting it down, U.S. military officials said the aircraft went down in friendly airspace and was not the result of enemy fire. Meanwhile, Iraq temporarily closed its port operations after an Indian crew member was killed during an attack on a U.S.-owned oil tanker. In northern Iraq's Kurdish region, a drone strike wounded 6 French soldiers, according to French President Emmanuel Macron. In Lebanon, Israeli bombardments of southern towns continue. A strike on the village of Arki near Sidon killed 9 people, including 5 children. Lebanese officials say at least 687 people have been killed in Israeli attacks in the past week alone. The ongoing bombardments have forced 700,000 to 750,000 people to flee their homes. Conclusion. As the war enters its second week, the conflict between Israel, the United States, and Iran is rapidly expanding beyond its original front lines. With oil supplies disrupted, civilian casualties rising, and attacks spreading across multiple countries, fears are growing that the crisis could soon escalate into a full-scale regional war. This is World Insight News, bringing you the latest global updates and geopolitical developments shaping our world.